Okay, we're just waiting for the sound here to show up in the chat room. Still not there, so for those of you listening on demand, just go ahead and fast forward it a minute or so. It's easier for you to do that than to wait for the sound. For us here in the chat room, and we like to have the chat room all ready to go.
According to Jeremy Gibbs.
Sound is good. Okay, we are on a mission. Sound is good. Thank you, Jeremy Gibbs. So, it's a surprise that you're seeing me here today because Lenny usually does the podcast every day, but I am filling in for him as he lost a good, dear friend. I'm going to try to make it through this without... I don't hear the sound yet. It's still not there. No sound yet. Just a second, on-demand listeners. You're going to have to bear with me until I can figure this out. It doesn't get live for... Here we go. We got the sound now. So tell everybody to refresh in the chat room, Leonard. Lenny is here today, but we have a long-time friend of Lenny's just passed away, and... like I said, I'm going to try to get through this without crying too much, but Lenny's friend, Scott Jarvis, had brain cancer. We didn't even know about it, but we did get to meet with him in Oregon a couple years back on one of our road trips. He was such an interesting guy. He grew up with Lenny, and he got to skip a grade because he was really, really smart. And he said it was the worst thing that ever happened to him because he was taken away from his friends. He's such a unique guy. He packed his bag one day and just left. And he just started walking with his bag. And he hitchhiked across the country. And he ended up in Hawaii where he studied this fruit that was really good at healing things. And I remember him telling me the story of the fruit. I can't remember the name of the fruit, but when you put the insides of this fruit on injuries, like he gave me an example of a really bad jellyfish sting, and it healed up this guy's sting right away. So he bought a lab in Oregon, and he lived in Eugene part-time and Hawaii part-time, but he used this lab to come up with this natural healing fruit. And when I met him, he was so cool. I just remember him and me, we all took a walk at University of Oregon. He was a Duck alumni, and we were smoking a joint walking through the campus. And he played Little League with Lenny, and he was promoted to the majors before Lenny was, which made Lenny think of him as a competitor, but we just found out he passed away, so I think this is the saddest I've seen Lenny in a while. And it is true that one of the worst things about getting old is seeing your friends pass away. So reach out to Lenny today and tell him you love him. And let's get going with the baseball. I guess I did an okay job with that. All right, Liam Hendriks. This is good news. Liam Hendriks came back yesterday. Doesn't really matter how he did. I think what matters more to me, personally, is the reception that he got at Angel Stadium. It was a big crowd. He came in for one inning. He gave up 2 runs, 3 hits, and he walked a batter. Not typical of Liam Hendriks, but as Boston Paul pointed out to me yesterday, what a great story behind Liam Hendriks. And I say Liam Hendriks is one of several great role models in the game of baseball. If you remember just a couple years ago, Trey Mancini had cancer. Jameson Taillon is another one who endured and really fought his way back to playing the game that he loves. And there's been more than one over the last few years, but obviously today is a day to celebrate Liam Hendriks coming back from cancer. It's wonderful to see these types of people in the game of baseball. It's a great role model for young fans, especially those young fans who get sick and they could look at their hero and they could say, if that guy could do it, I could do it. So congratulations to Liam Hendriks and to all the White Sox fans and all the baseball fans out there to watch such a great comeback. In 2022, the whole season, the Houston Astros allowed 518 runs. So far this season, Oakland has allowed 388 runs. It's a third of the way through the season. Now, I know how the baseball sports media vultures love to dog on Oakland, and I don't blame them to a point. But when you start saying stuff like the Oakland's not trying and shit like that, I want to point out real quick that the Oakland A's beat the Braves yesterday. So I think that this is a day to try not to dog on the Oakland Athletics so bad, because they did have a win, and that's something to congratulate them for. They've scored 199 runs, they've scored 188 runs, and their run differential so far this season is minus 199. They broke their 11-game losing streak, and they beat Atlanta 7-2. Now, Oakland started the year, and this is where the real problem is. I wish the vultures would write about the fact that the team is not spending any money instead of dogging on the players. They started the season with the lowest payroll in baseball, $57 million, okay? They just yesterday designated one of their highest paid players for assignment. He was getting paid $3 million, so I know that's not a lot. That's probably like the lowest paid player on some teams, but he was making $3 million and we're getting a call. And he was one of the highest paid players in Oakland. Hello, King Hap. Nice to see you. Good morning, White Sox Al. Good morning to everybody. Boston Paul, Gallo, Data Premier, DK Luce, Jay Gibbs, King Hap, Laura's here, Leonard Donaldson, SM King Turd, Turd Jr., Future Miss Turd, and Mrs. Turd, Taco, Tom Johnson, Triple Play, and others. The Phillies are 1-9 in games pitched by their fifth starter. It's not good. They traded Gibson and Eflin before the season started. Gibson to the Orioles and Eflin to the Tampa Bay. And those two are 12-4. And right now, the Phillies are 1-9 in games pitched by their fifth starter. A team that's doing really good that might be under the radar a little bit. Taco! Yay, Taco! You know what? I said your name and then I just, it didn't even occur to me that you're here on a weekday. It's so nice to see you, my friend. The Detroit Tigers since April 13th are 23-17. They have a 3.78 ERA, and they are actually one game out of first place in the American League Central. The Tigers are making a comeback. Aaron Judge hit 2 homers yesterday, and he's the first player to hit multiple homers and rob a homer in the same game since he himself did it on July 29th of last year. He's the only MLB player in the last 30 years to have 2 such games in his career. That's right. Not only did he hit 2 home runs yesterday, but he robbed a home run by making an excellent catch. And there were a couple players in baseball yesterday that were one-man wrecking crews. I've been saying that because it seems like lately, some of these games, there's just one player that does everything. Aaron Judge, excellent yesterday. Now, I don't know if, a double, and he hit a double off the wall. We'll talk more about Judge. He also walked once, if I can recall right. But we're going to talk more about Judge during the game recaps. And yes, he had an excellent day. Now, I don't know if Malpal's here, but the Padres claimed Gary Sanchez off waivers. So that means that, the Mets put him up for, what do they call it? They put him on so that other teams could claim him. Anyway, they were owing him $1.5 million this year. And so now the Padres are responsible for about $1.1 million remaining on Gary Sanchez's contract. And I got the breaking news yesterday from Malpal, and he said that the Padres signed Sanchez, and my comment was, ouch. And he said, well, it's got to be better than Nola. And I thought to myself, you know what? I know Nola sucks. He's not been good at all offensively, but Sanchez is a freaking nightmare behind the plate. He is not good as a catcher defensively. He ranked, in 2021, when he caught for 879 innings, he was ranked 34th in MLB for catchers. Think about that. There's not that many catchers out there. He's probably the worst ranked defensive catcher in baseball that year. And then in 2022, he was ranked 17th. He's just not good. Defensive runs saved are in the negative. He allowed an extra 10 runs to score in 2021, just being behind the plate. And so if he's not hitting, then his worth is nothing unless he's gotten better behind the plate. That happens, but, I know the Padres are struggling right now with Campusano on the bench, but he is the catcher of the future. And they say he's not going to come back till the middle of July. July 14 to be exact. He's going to be out. He was out for a couple months. But they brought in this Brett Sullivan. And they also have Austin Nola. But what I'm trying to say is that if Gary Sanchez doesn't start hitting immediately for these guys, he is a liability to this team. So while he sounds like a great signing for a team that's struggling offensively and behind the plate as well, I would be very hesitant to think that Gary Sanchez is going to make a positive difference for these pitchers or for their offense at this point. But we'll see. It's at least they did something. Sullivan is better defensively, and Nola is better defensively too. Neither of these guys are great offensively, and neither of these guys are going to be their catcher of the future, so I could understand why the Padres made the move. Now, we talked about Jonathan India a little bit yesterday when one of you guys brought up Jonathan India as one of the most underrated players in baseball. That was a great question by Lenny, and we got a ton of answers to that question. I think that it's great for interaction, but it's also great so that we notice these players that are just doing very good, but maybe underrated and possibly could still be out there on the waivers. The thing about the Reds with Jonathan India doing well this year, Jonathan India was a big deal when he came up, and now they have their top prospect, Elly De La Cruz, who I know King Turd is a fan of and has him on his keeper league. He's closing in on his major league debut, but India, remember 2021, he was the National League Rookie of the Year. Right now, he's batting number 3 in the order, and he's putting together a season much more like 2021 when he won the Rookie of the Year than he did last year. And really, Reds players and officials consider this guy the heart and soul of the team. It's really gonna, and not to say that Elly doesn't deserve the call-up, but where he could be stuck based on the fact that India is having such a good season. Now, I know that Turd was talking about one of these guys that he has, and another guy for you, okay, Mr. Royce. Jeez Louise, great game yesterday, absolute star of the show. We'll talk about him too, but is Elly the one that you were talking about gaining eligibility at third base? Because I wonder about this. Is Elly going to be stuck down in the minors a little bit longer than expected? Or is India going to be displaced at second base? Thanks, White Sox Al. Have a great day. We have some notable homer-less streaks right now on the White Sox. Daniel, are you here? Benintendi, 54 games without a homer. Tim Anderson, 53 games without a homer. And Yohan Moncada, 23 games without a homer. Patrick Bailey, tied for the most by 4 RBIs yesterday, which is tied for the most by a Giants player in a game on his birthday since 1920. And Patrick Bailey on his birthday, 4 RBIs yesterday. Sawinski hit 2 home runs into McCovey Cove in the same game yesterday. The only other player to do that in history is Barry Bonds, because it's, McCovey Cove is not easy to hit a home run to. It's very far, and that's why San Francisco Giants have a great ballpark for pitchers. The Twins may have found their third baseman, Royce Lewis. Royce Lewis, Turd, listen to this guy. 2 for 5, a 3-run homer, 4 RBIs and 1 run scored yesterday to help the Twins beat Houston. He should take over as the everyday third baseman, though the Twins may be judicious with his rest early on as he returns from last year's torn ACL. And I should note, it was exactly a year to the day that he tore his ACL. It must have been a year to the day. We'll talk about that when it was a year to the day something. I'll have to tell you that when we get to the game recaps. Let's get started on the game recaps, shall we? Let's talk about Logan Allen, the guy I told you to pick up from Cleveland. This guy is doing very good. The Cleveland Guardians scored 4 runs in the 7th inning, and they beat Baltimore 5-0 yesterday. Logan Allen allowed 3 hits in 7 outstanding innings. The Guardians have won 3 of the last 4, and the Orioles will need to win their next 2 games against Cleveland just to get to 500 on their 6-game homestand, after they went 5-1 on a road trip. Allen struck out a career-high 10 in his 7th big league start. He's a rookie lefty. He set career-high marks for inning pitched and the fewest hits allowed, and this was his first scoreless outing. He's the second pitcher in franchise history to have 8+ strikeouts in at least 3 of his first 7 career games. Herb Score did it in 5 of his first 7. Tyler Wells allowed a run and 4 hits in 6 innings, struck out 7 without a walk, so he did a very good job, but he lost. Still had to take the loss. The game fell apart for the Orioles as soon as he exited, which is not normal for the Orioles. They have such a strong bullpen, but they needed 4 bullpen guys, and those 4 bullpen guys, they lost the game. Cedric Mullins got caught stealing, and I'll tell you a little more about Cedric Mullins. He got caught stealing, but while he was doing that, he appeared to have something wrong with his right leg, and he was taken out of the game. So we will see what happens with Cedric Mullins. Keep an eye on him. Will Brennan had 3 hits. Adley Rutschman had the day off. It was the first time this season that Adley Rutschman missed a game. And yes, King Turd was trying to decide yesterday what should he do. He's got these great youngsters, Ellie De La Cruz, Royce Lewis, and Matt McClain, and this team doesn't even need a middle infielder in this league. And he was really trying hard to decide what to do with Carlos Correa and his plantar fasciitis, because he obviously has so many guys in the middle infield and doesn't need all these guys, can't play all these guys. And yesterday he decided to cut Carlos Correa, even though Carlos Correa is the well-known veteran, the one that you probably paid the most, guaranteed he paid the most for at the draft. And somebody's going to snatch up Carlos Correa, but you can't judge a guy based on his history. You got to judge a guy based on his health and his potential to do good this year. I still question whether or not you should ever drop a guy for a player that's never had any experience in the majors. Now, McClain obviously is up. Royce Lewis is now up, but Ellie, we just don't know what to expect right away from him, which is why I hesitated to tell him to drop Correa for Ellie. But he did it, and that's the choice. Sometimes you got to make tough choices. Sometimes you have to take risks. And I think that in this case, Turd did the right thing by dropping Correa in a keeper league, because not only for this year, but including next year, Correa was probably a mistake to begin with. I think you probably drafted him based on his name a little bit. We knew that he was not healthy entering the season based on the teams that just decided to not take him up on his big-ass contract that he wanted. Anyway, tonight you get to see Kyle Gibson against Cal Quantrill. The Texas Rangers beat the Detroit Tigers 5-0. It was the Rangers' 5th shutout this year. The Rangers are 34-19, matching the 1996 team for the best 53-game start in history. They will reach the 1/3 mark of the season today. Detroit had 4 wins of its previous 5 games and had beaten okay, let me start over. Let me have a sip of coffee. Hold on, let me check in with the chat. Hello, Meryl. Nice to have you. Detroit, we already talked about them. They're doing good. They're making a comeback. Nathan Eovaldi won his 6th straight decision. He allowed 4 hits and a season-high 3 walks in 5 innings with 4 strikeouts. He's actually 6-0 with a 1.38 ERA in his last 8 starts. Matthew Boyd gave up 5 runs on 5 hits and 4 walks in 6+ innings. Corey Seager had a 3-run homer and 4 RBIs. Marcus Semien singled to extend his hitting streak to a career-best 18 games. We got a rookie here to talk about. Josh Jung singled in the 2nd inning to extend his hitting streak to 12 games. It's the 6th longest in franchise history for a rookie. Tonight you get to see Alex Faedo against Martin Perez. The Kansas City Royals shut out the Cardinals 7-0. It was Kansas City's 2nd shutout this year. St. Louis was shut out for the 6th time this year and has scored 13 runs in their last 6 games. The Cardinals playing their 18th game in a stretch of 19 days in a row. They're getting tired right now. The Cardinals going 19 games straight without a day off. Looks more like the Cardinals that started the season than the one we just saw a couple weeks ago. So, in the opener of a 2-game series, the Royals tied their season high with 16 hits and stranded 14 runners. How do you get 16 hits and you strand 14 of them? That sucks. Josh Stallmont, 29-year-old. He served as the opener in a planned bullpen game for the Royals. He made his first Major League start in his 167th appearance and struck out 2 in a 1-2-3 inning. It only took him 14 pitches. And then Mike Mayers came in, retired 18 consecutive batters before Arenado lined a slider to left field on his 72nd pitch. So Mike Mayers retired 18 consecutive batters and didn't allow a hit until 72nd pitch. Adam Wainwright allowed 3 runs and 9 hits in 5 innings. 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. Nicky Lopez matched his career high with 4 hits. Nick Pratto and Vinny Pasquantino had 3 hits each. Mike Massey hit a 2-run homer. Bobby Witt Jr. added a solo homer and stole a base yesterday. It seems like every time Bobby Witt Jr. hits a homer, he steals a base. He actually snapped an 0-for-12 skid with the home run, and he became the 2nd Royal to hit 30 career homers before turning age 23. MJ Melendez, who I have on my I don't have MJ Melendez. I have Miranda on my bench. MJ Melendez hit a run-scoring triple. Hope he's not doing as bad as Miranda. Lars Newbar is hurt. He left after he slammed into the wall. The Cardinals say that Newbar has back spasms. Brad Keller is progressing well after throwing a bullpen. And Dylan Carlson, I told you, he's a switch hitter. He was taking swings left-handed on Monday, and yesterday he took swings from the right side. Once he's comfortable, he's going to have a short rehab stint in the minors, and then we'll just see if the Cardinals even let him play. They kind of have to since they put Jordan Walker back down, and they got a real problem with Tyler O'Neill. So it looks like Dylan Carlson's going to get more chances to prove himself. I hope he does better than he did to start the season. This guy needs to prove himself. It's high time for him. You know? Zach Greinke starts tonight against Miles Mikolas. Greinke is actually 13-7 with a 3.48 ERA against the Cardinals, and Mikolas pitched a 4-hit shutout in his only game against the Royals, which was back in 2018. I would take Mikolas today. The Cubbies beat the Major League leading Tampa Bay Rays 1-0. Marcus Stroman pitched a one-hitter. He's doing good this year. He's a Cubby. Stroman dazzled in his 4th complete game and 2nd shutout in 9 Major League seasons. His only other one shutout was in 2014 when he was a rookie. He set a season high with 105 pitches and matched his high with 8 strikeouts. He walked 1 and he won his 3rd straight start. Chicago pitched its 6th shutout of the season, 3rd shutout against the Rays this year. The 22-year-old rookie for the Rays, Taj Bradley, lost his 2nd straight start, but allowed just 1 unearned run and 3 hits in 5 2/3. He struck out 8 and walked 1. The Rays placed closer Pete Fairbanks on the 15-day injured list. Manager Kevin Cash says Fairbanks texted that he was feeling better than he did when he left the ballpark on Sunday, though he was still sore, and he's scheduled for more tests today. Tonight you get to see Shane McClanahan, who is 8-0 with a 1.97 ERA, and poor Kyle Hendricks has to go against Shane McClanahan. He's making his second start since he's missed a ton of time. I put him in my lineup immediately. I hope he does better than he did his last time out, because right now he's 0-1 with a 6.23 ERA. It sucks to go up against a guy like McClanahan and a team like the Rays, okay? The Diamondbacks rallied they beat the Rockies 7-5. The Diamondbacks, you know what? The Diamondbacks, we got to give them credit. We especially got to give them credit for their new pitching coach. This guy is a monster. Now, let me tell you what happened. The Diamondbacks stormed back from an early 4-0 deficit with a 5-run second inning. A third of the way through the season, the Diamondbacks are on pace to win 93 games. 2 years ago, they finished with a 52-110 record. The Rockies lost despite getting 13 hits. Arizona only had 11. Rockies starter Carl Kaufman, who was making his third major league start, gave up 7 runs on 9 hits and 2 walks over 4 innings, and he struck out 1. He was optioned to AAA following the game. Arizona starter Ryan Nelson gave up 5 runs on 8 hits and 3 walks over 5 innings. He struck out 1. So this clearly wasn't a pitcher's duel. This was a hitter's duel, okay? And guess who? My boy Lourdes Gurriel hit his 9th homer, got his 29th RBI. I'm telling you, this guy is a gold. Pavin Smith hit a go-ahead 3-run homer, and Drew Jameson threw 3 2/3 innings. And he relieved Ryan Nelson. But this guy, Drew Jameson, pretty much, I would say if anybody won the game yesterday, it was Drew Jameson. Struck out 6, 3 2/3 innings. McMahon homered in his 4th consecutive game, hitting 445 feet. And he also, he had 4 hits, including his home run. And like I said, it's worth mentioning again, that was he's hit home runs in 4 consecutive games. Andrew Chafin earned his 8th save in 10 chances. I was going to read you a little bit more about Dre Jameson. Should I do that? Jameson was brought back to the big leagues on Saturday after his stint with AAA Reno. He has a vicious slider that's made him one of the organization's top prospects. He had a very good time as a starter with the Diamondbacks late last year. He was a starter for the Diamondbacks, and he had 1.48 ERA over 24 1/3 innings. He's bounced between the bullpen and the rotation. He was struggling as a starter before he got demoted to AAA on April 24th, but he was excellent with Reno, and he was called back up. He's in the bullpen for now, and like I said, he struck out 6 yesterday in 3 2/3. I would watch this guy. The reason I tell you that he bounced back and forth, he has the potential of being a good starter. And if something should happen to one of these Diamondback starters, I would assume that this guy would be stretched out, or at least he would be stretched out as a starter. He would probably not be able to go 5 innings for a while, but he could be. I mean, this guy is worth putting on your fantasy roster because he will get wins. He could get saves. He could. Probably won't, but he could. And you get a lot of strikeouts, a great ERA, a great whip, and he's a potential starter for this team, which every fantasy team needs late down the stretch. Charlie Blackmon was placed on the bereavement list, and tonight you get to see Zach Gallen, who had a shit storm of an outing last time he went out. He's going against Kyle Freeland tonight. The Twins beat the Astros 7-5. Sonny Gray, 4 hits and 3 runs, 2 earned, 6+ innings for his 5th straight start without factoring in the decision. He leads the majors with a 1.94 ERA. Unholy says Stroman was high energy yesterday. He could have pitched a couple more innings if necessary. He's great. I love Stroman this year. He's wonderful to watch. This guy does have a good work ethic. Works out a lot. So I'm glad to see him doing so great for the Cubbies. When do we get to see Bellinger back? Hello, Calrona. Nice to see you. Hello, guest Dora. J.P. France allowed 7 hits and 4 runs while tying a career high with 8 strikeouts in 6 innings. Now, Royce Lewis, we get to brag about him a little more. A year ago Monday, Royce Lewis tore the ACL in his right knee for a second time. On the first anniversary of the injury, he returned to the field in a season debut more suited for a fairy tale than a baseball diamond. He homered with 4 RBIs. I mean, this was his first big league appearance in center field. Last May 29th, he was injured when he crashed into the outfield while making a catch. He was the first overall pick in 2017 amateur draft. He had reconstructive surgery a few days later, ending his first major league season after just 12 games. It was the second time in 2 years that he sustained the same injury after tearing the ACL for the first time in February of 21. He was drafted as a shortstop, but he's going to play third base for now, with Carlos Correa entrenched at shortstop with his plantar fasciitis. I don't know how good of a shortstop you could be with that problem. All right, so he spent months of grueling rehab. There were many low times when he says he wondered why these setbacks kept happening to him. But this is another feel-good story with this Royce Lewis. He battled back from something that was really hard, and he just kept at it and kept at it. And he said he felt really devastated at times, felt like he wanted to quit, but and that's such a good sign for an athlete when they just fight through that, when they fight through that stuff and they come out on the end. The manager, Rocco Baldelli, raved about the game by Lewis and noted that he made some great, not only offensive, but he was excellent defensively too, so clearly he's not scared to go after the ball, even though he hurt his knee twice doing it. Max Kepler started the 10th as an automatic base runner. Ryan Jeffers hit a 2-run shot. Altuve's hit a grand slam. It was the second straight game with a homer for Altuve, even though he's only played 8 games this season. Lewis came through again late. He tied it with an RBI single off of Ryan Presley with 2 outs in the 9th inning. So talk about clutch. But Ryan Presley first blown save in 11 chances this year. So he screwed Presley out of a save, got his first blow save due to Royce Lewis. Hooray, hurrah. Brandon Bielak faces Joe Ryan tonight. The San Francisco Giants beat the Pirates 14-4. The Pirates dropped under 500 for the first time since the opening weekend of the season. I think the Pirates should go get Luke Voigt, who was designated for assignment, by the way, while he's on the injured list. Pittsburgh has lost 19 of 25 games after they started off 20-8. The Pirates' only other time under 500 was at 1-2, so the third game of the season. The Giants won for the 11th time in 14 games, and for the 14th time in 19 home games. Rich Hill, a 5-run second inning for Rich Hill. He pitched 6 innings, though, 3 strikeouts, 6 earned runs on 9 hits. DeSclafani, another favorite of mine. 3 runs and 8 hits in 7 innings. It only took him 3 pitches to get through the first inning, DeSclafani. He needed 74 pitches to get through 7 innings. Very good job again by this guy. I really like him. Patrick Bailey, the rookie. He's a catcher who debuted on May 19th. He was playing in his 9th Major League game yesterday, and he had 4 RBIs on his 24th birthday. Austin Slater hit a 2-run homer in the 2nd and a 2-run double in the 7th. In his first game back from a hamstring injury, Slater had his 3rd game with 4 RBIs and first since 2019. Bailey and Casey Schmidt each had 3 of the Giants' 18 hits, as did Slater, Brandon Crawford, and Mitch Haniger. Jack Sawinski, we talked about earlier, homered twice. The A's beat the NL East leading Braves 7-2 to snap an 11-game losing streak with just their 11th win of the season. They won for only the second time in 16 games. Oakland had more losses through 55 games than any other Major League team since 1900. Atlanta, on the other hand, tied with the Dodgers for the best record in the National League. They threw out Soroka yesterday, and Soroka came out looking good. He calmly retired the side in order on the first 13 pitches, and he didn't allow a hit until a one-out single in the third innings. And after that, he gave up 4 runs and 5 hits in 6 innings. He struck out 3, walked 2, and left the game trailing 4-1. I will say this, the fact that Soroka made it through 6 innings, I'm happy for that. The A's' Paul Blackburn came off the injured list to make his season debut. He struck out 6, walked 2 over 4 innings. He allowed 4 hits and 1 run. Matt Olson hit his 17th homer. Ramon Laureano, Shea Langoliers, and Jace Peters all had RBI singles, and Austin Riley, who I just traded Boston Paul, extended his season-best hitting streak to 12 games. And like I mentioned before, the A's designated Jesus Aguilar for assignment, one of their highest-paid players at $3 million. Tonight you get to see the youngster Bryce Elder. I heard last night on MLB on Home Plate. It's a show on MLB radio on Sirius. Bryce Elder, they were talking about they had the Braves manager on there talking about the draft, the amateur draft, where they drafted Schuster in the first round. Who's the other one, Leonard? There's 3. Elder, Schuster, and this other young pitcher that's even better, Strider. So they drafted Schuster in the first round, Strider in the third round, and Elder in the 5th round in a specific season. I can't remember which season it was. It was 2020, because he was talking about how they were only allowed to have 2 people in the room doing the drafting because of COVID. Anyways, we're talking about these 3 pitchers drafted in the 1st, 3rd, and 5th round of the 2020 amateur draft, and they're already superstars. Bryce Elder goes tonight. He's 3-0 with a 2.01 ERA. And J.P. Sears, another youngster, 4.70. He's 0-3. The Angels beat the White Sox 6-4. Chicago had his 3rd consecutive loss. Matt Thaiss and Brandon Drury got homers. They had a 4-run first inning against Michael Kopech. He struck out 10 in 4 1/3 innings, but he also hit 2 batters, threw 2 wild pitches, and walked 2. Griffin Canning struck out 9 in 6 innings. Liam Hendricks pitched the 8th in his first big league appearance since he was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. There was 23,599 in the crowd at Angel Stadium, and it was a very big sign of unity that every fan in baseball is proud of what he did, and it was really cool. Hendricks stood behind the mound and soaked in the scene as the crowd cheered. Brings tears a little bit. I'm thinking I'm going to cry all day today. Okay. Anyway, he's back. What a great thing that is. Mike Trout finished with 2 hits. Eloy, Andrew Vaughn, and Romy Gonzalez all homered. Eloy, 2-out RBI, extended his hitting streak to 10 games. If he could only play 10 games straight, that would be great. Ben Joyce pitched an impressive 7th in his big league debut for the Angels. Ben Joyce struck out 2 on sinkers of 101.8 miles an hour and 100.6 miles an hour. And then Carlos Estevez got 3 outs for his 13th save. Ohtani was shaken up after he was hit on his right shin by a pitch in the first inning, but he stayed in the game, and so all is good. Anthony Rendon threw in the outfield and fielded some grounders before the game. He feels good, so there's another step in his journey to come back. They said that they're going to get him out on the field and reassess it again today. White Sox GM Rick Hahn says Elvis Andrus and Clevenger could be activated during the team's current homestand. Elvis Andrus homered during his second rehab appearance with AAA Charlotte on Sunday, and Clevenger threw a simulated game before the opener against the Angels. Do you remember a guy named Billy Hamilton? He could begin a rehab assignment in the next week to 10 days. He is useless these days in fantasy with all the stolen bases you get now. Tonight you get to see Tyler Anderson against Lucas Giolito. Anderson pitched 6 innings of 1-run ball in a 7-3 win against Boston last week, and Giolito is 2-2 with a 4.57 ERA in his last 4 starts. All right, the Dodgers had a 6-run 5th inning, and they beat the Nationals 6-1. J.D. Martinez hit a 3-run homer. Freddie Freeman had a 2-run double during the Dodgers' 6-run 5th inning. The Dodgers have won 12 of 13 at home since late April. The Nationals have lost 11 of 14 to the Dodgers over the past 3 seasons. Bobby Miller, pitcher, youngster for the Dodgers. 4 hits and a run over 6 innings. It was his second consecutive victory to begin his career. He struck out 4. He retired 12 of his final 14 batters, and Washington scored its only run in the 2nd inning. Manager Dave Roberts says that Miller will make at least one more start on Sunday at home against the Yankees. I think his future as a starter not only comes down to how good he's doing, which if it was up to just that, he would stay in the rotation, but I'm thinking that they're going to get a couple guys back off the injured list. Their whole rotation right now is decimated by injuries. The Nats starter Trevor Williams, he was good until the 5th inning, but he allowed 6 unearned runs. Unearned, and those are basically due to errors, okay? If they're unearned, they're not his fault. He gave up 4 hits and 2 walks. Freeman extended his hitting streak to 18 games. He has 40 hits this month, and his 17 doubles set a Dodgers franchise record for a single month, surpassing Babe Ruth from 1930. Babe Herman? Is that Babe Ruth?
No.
It's not the same.
Not the same.
What was Babe Ruth's name?
Babe Ruth.
No, his real name. I think it was
George Sherman.
Yeah, it was George Sherman. That's why I got confused. Okay, Lane Thomas extending his on-base streak to a career best 25 games and his hitting streak to a career best 14 games. Joey Meneses singled in the 2nd, eventually scored. J.D. Martinez hit his 11th homer of the season. Max Muncy sat out after Sunday with a left hamstring strain. Dave Roberts says the team doesn't think it's a major injury, and Muncy didn't undergo any exams or MRIs or anything. I'm telling you, Muncy doing great so far. He's bound to get hurt, so this is just a prelude of what's to come. Anyway, the good news is for Muncy people that he did not have to undergo any tests, and they say that they're not that worried. Victor Robles is doing running and agility drills. He's been out for 3 weeks with back pain. Tonight you get to see Tony Gonsolin, so he's back. 1.82 ERA, takes the mound for Los Angeles against Jake Urban. The Yankees had a season-high 18 hits and scored 10 runs for the 2nd straight game. And they beat the Mariners 10-4 yesterday. Domingo Germán pitched into the 7th inning to win his first start after he was suspended for 10 games for using a foreign substance on the mound. He scattered 7 hits, permitted 4 runs, and he struck out 4 over 6 1/3 innings in his return. After his first 5 starts were spectacular, Seattle's Bryce Miller allowed 4 runs in... No. His first 5 starts, he allowed 4 runs in 31 1/3 innings, and he had thrown at least 6 innings in each of his starts to begin his career. But last night, he allowed 11 hits, 8 earned runs, 3 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings, but the good news is he didn't walk any batters. Jake Bauers homered and doubled. Isaiah Kiner Falefa and Willie Calhoun each had 2-run doubles. Aaron Judge, 2 home runs, makes it 17 on the season, hit a double and a walk. He robbed a home run with a leaping catch at the wall. It was Judge's 31st career multi-homer game and first since May 15th. It was actually his 3rd multi-homer game of the season. Julio Rodriguez hit his 10th homer of the season and had a 2-run single. Harrison Bader left in the third with right hamstring tightness. Anthony Rizzo was held out with a stiff neck. Tonight is Nestor Cortez. He's thrown 6 innings in each of his past 2 starts after pitching that deep only twice in his first 8 starts of the season, so he looks like he might have made a turnaround. Logan Gilbert tied a career high by pitching 8 innings in his last start against Oakland. Gilbert is 2-1 with a 3.06 ERA in May, with 35 strikeouts and 5 walks. And that's it. Thanks to everybody. Oh, Mitch Harson agreed to a trade with Paul. That's going to make his day. Okay, that's great. Now, thanks everybody for joining us. We really appreciate y'all coming around and sticking with me. Lenny will be back tomorrow, and it's going to be a beautiful day. So let's get out and sit in the sun. Thanks, everybody.